Anthony Joshua has been out of the ring for quite some time now, his last bout having taken place back in August. But news from respected journalist Dan Rafael suggests that his hiatus is about to end, with his camp apparently in talks to have him fight Deontay Wilder. But Otto Wallin believes that he deserves to fight Joshua next. We'll be covering all that in today's video. First up, Joshua's return to the ring. Before 2021, Anthony Joshua was the undisputed unified heavyweight champion, holding the WBA, IBF, WBO, and IBO titles. He held on to all those belts between 2016 and 2021, with a brief stint in 2019 where he lost and regained the titles following back-to-back bouts with Andy Ruiz Jr. But these past 2 years didn't go his way at all. In September 2021, he went up against the undefeated Ukrainian Oleksandr Usyk. Usyk proved too much for him, and though they lasted the full 12 rounds, the judges ultimately ruled in favor of Usyk unanimously. This year in August, the two went toe-to-toe again, lasting the entire round time. Though the fight was much closer than the previous one, the Ukrainian came out on top once more, and Joshua failed to win back his belts the way he did against Ruiz. Since then, Joshua's taken a pretty huge break from the sport, but Dan Rafael, a highly reputed boxing journalist, has reported that the British team is currently seeking his next matchup. Considering it's making the rounds that Joshua is looking for a new head coach, it seems highly likely that he will return to the ring soon. Rafael stated that Joshua's promoter, Eddie Hearn, has been in contact with Deontay Wilder's camp to perhaps pit the two against each other. Next, Rafael on Joshua versus Wilder. Rafael might have broken the news on discussions between Hearn and Wilder's team for Joshua's next bout, but he doesn't believe it'll happen. Rafael's covered the sport for almost 2 decades, so we should put some stock in his words. When Rafael talked to GiveMeSport.com, he told them that though he doesn't know who Joshua will be fighting next, he highly doubts that it will be Wilder. He thinks that a lot of issues would have to be hashed out for that fight to actually happen. Hearn might have said they're negotiating at the moment, but Rafael doesn't think that's what's happening as a negotiation. To him, it's just exchanging emails, which might even be one-sided. There's been contact, and that's a step forward to get the fight on the table, but there's nothing to suggest that it's any more likely than a fight with someone else. Coming up, how likely is the matchup? And there is some potential for the fight to happen. Wilder and Joshua are former champions with strong records, with 5 losses. 2 out of 3 of Wilder's previous fights have been losses, with him falling short both times in the ring against Tyson Fury. The same goes for Joshua, who couldn't beat Usyk in his last 2 matches. The difference is that Wilder's coming off of a recent momentous victory against Robert Helenius, knocking him out in the very first round of a bout that was supposed to last 12. So Wilder has a lot more momentum right now than Joshua does. That makes the fight less likely, as Wilder's team would want to capitalize on his success and go for the fight that increases his reputation much more than the effect that a fight against Joshua would have. What's more possible for AJ's next bout is a showdown against either Otto Wallin or Dillian Whyte. Wallin has a strong record of 24 wins to a single loss, but hasn't won a world title yet, so he'd be a good option for Joshua. He's also been looking for another fight since he took down Riddle Booker in May, and taking down Joshua would look great on his resume. Whyte already fights ahead of him, squaring off against American Jermaine Franklin at Wembley Arena. But if that works out in his favor, he could be in the running to face AJ. Moving on, what does Wallin want? Otto Wallin recently expressed interest in taking on Joshua during the first quarter of next year, and it looks like there's a real chance that the fight might happen. As we've said before, Wallin has a strong record of 24 wins out of 26 fights. He had turned professional when he was 22, so that averages about 2.7 wins a year. Even if he hasn't won a world title, that statistic makes him a decent option for Joshua, and Eddie Hearn seems to agree. Considering that the Brit is coming off 2 consecutive losses against Usyk, Hearn believes that Wallin would be a good rebound fight for the former unified champion. Wallin's made a pretty big name for himself. He squared off against Tyson Fury, one of the biggest names in heavyweight boxing, back in 2019. Though Fury did win by a large margin on the scorecards, Wallin made him work for it, at one point seemingly having the upper hand when he opened up a gash over Fury's right eye. Following that commendable loss, Wallin added 4 straight wins to his record, though some considered those matchups below his level. Now, after more than half a year since his last fight, he's looking to take on a more experienced and formidable opponent, and he can't think of anyone better than Joshua to fill that role. Now for Wallin discussing the potential potential fight. Wallin talked to Seconds Out about the current negotiations that are taking place for the fight. He said he hadn't been involved personally, but his promoter, Dimitri Salita, and Eddie Hearn have been in talks. He admitted that there haven't been any significant updates recently, but he hopes to hear something soon as he wants to fight with AJ. The Swede said he respects Joshua greatly, as he's one of the biggest names in the heavyweight division. By beating him, Wallin thinks that it could take his reputation to even greater heights. He thinks he deserves the fight because he's already proven himself against huge names. He expressed pride in having gone toe-to-toe with Fury, saying he gave him a good fight. He also mentioned that since then, he's taken down Travis Kaufman and Dominic Breazeale. Following that, he also had some lower-level fights to keep himself busy, which he admits was a little frustrating. But he has high hopes for the future, expecting bigger fights to be thrown and AJ to be the next of many high-profile bouts in his career. There's no denying that Wallin is dedicated to his craft and wants to show everyone what he's capable of in fights that he knows he deserves. Let's talk about Wallin's opinion of AJ. AJ might have lost against Usyk twice in a row, but no one can deny that he's still one of the best in the industry. Wallin has a lot of respect for him, considering he was the unified champion for 5 years. Still, he can't help but feel that Joshua hasn't been the same mentally since failing a second time against the Ukrainian. After his fight in August had been called, the Brit reacted extremely poorly, grabbing the mic from the presenter and going on a long-winded rant about himself when the spotlight was supposed to be on Usyk. Wallin told Seconds Out that he still thinks that Joshua is the best in the heavyweight division, but over the past 2 years, it looks like he's lost a lot of confidence in his abilities. The Swede figures that there was a lot of pressure on him to perform during his past few fights, which seemed to have gotten to him during his last one with Usyk. Still, Wallin hopes AJ can bounce back and regain his form since he wants to fight him at his best. Lastly, Fury needs to fight AJ. There's no shortage of boxers wanting to take on Anthony Joshua. The latest calling for a chance at the former unified champion is the current WBC heavyweight champion Tyson Fury. Though negotiations for a potential fight between the two icons broke down in September, Fury is still adamant about facing off against AJ. Appearing on the High Performance podcast, Fury said he doesn't think he can retire before he faces off against Joshua. They've been trying to make the fight happen for years now because it's the fight that people want to see, and it's the fight that he wants to see happen as a boxing fan himself. Even though both camps blame the other for negotiations failing and Fury has a lot of boxers wanting to fight him, AJ remains his top priority. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think Wallin will get his chance to fight the former unified champion? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.
Ropes again, turns away. Does he want any more? The uppercut, pull out down on his back.
With Angel Fernandez and Robert Garcia earlier on, and one of the questions I did ask him was,
right hand, and that set him up for it.
And the legs have turned to rubber already. Joshua.
Different trainers. Yeah. Oh, you're talking about now, yeah?
And he's avoiding the big right hands. He got away with another one there, just ducked underneath it. Body shot.
The pressure, but it's